Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan, and I'll be with you for the next hour, hanging out, having some fun, have a little bit of the latest news, and then I think we're going to run the Farmers Fair today. Might do a little bit of questing over in King's Gondor as well, but we'll kind of see how the time goes. Well, last week I had a whole bunch of news. This week is kind of a continuation of the same news I had last week because something came up this week during our deployment and preparatory process to get Update 37 out the door. So instead of releasing it this week, we're releasing it, fingers crossed. I mean, there's literally a meeting happening today to confirm everything, but we're set to go live on Tuesday. So Tuesday the 29th is when we're set to go live with Update 37, the humble homes of the Holbitlan, which means I'm not going to have my house party today. That's going to be next Friday. We're going to be kicking off the Labor Day weekend and the holiday weekend in the United States with a house party. It'll be just like the 90s movie. I'm going to get my hair real tall, and it's going to be real sweet. I won't do that. But we are going to be hanging out in one of the new Hobbit houses next Friday. It'll be on this channel at this time, noon Eastern, twitch.tv/LotraStream. It's really going to be just a hangout. But I thought what I would do is get one of these new homes on my Cordovan character, set the permissions to be as permissible as possible, and just revel in the chaos. I'll probably drop some goodies, things from the community loot list. Maybe we can actually use it as an opportunity to talk a little bit about this upcoming Extra Life that we've got some additions to the loot list this year. And overall, we're just going to probably spawn some monsters, maybe. And overall, just kind of have some fun in Lindleby next Friday. So that's something to look forward to. So next week at this time, we should have our Lindleby housing. We should have River Hobbits out. So we'll be able to play your River Hobbits on the live game worlds. And then Update 37 will be released as well. That also includes big changes to the Beorning and the Guardian. And on top of that, we have a Forester crafting event that's getting ready to kick off as well. That is really, I guess, the only bit of breaking news that I have for you today is just over the past couple hours, we finalized the new schedule for the Combe Foresters crafting event. That's going to start at 10 a.m. Eastern on September 1st. So next Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, the new Forester crafting event's going to kick off, and it's going to run through September 10th, being shut off at 3 a.m. Eastern on September 11th. Remember, this event sticks around for about 10 days, then disappears for about 2 weeks, then comes back for about 10 days, and it's going to be on a rotation. And the intention is as we bring out future crafting events, besides just this Forester's one, they'll go into a rotation where they're on and off and on and off. So you'll generally always have something to do. Will U37 definitely come next week? Probably. Yes. I'm going to say yes. We actually have a meeting that began at noon here, where people are kind of... Actually, it's at 4 o'clock is technically what it is, but people are already chatting about it. Where we're actually going to sort of make sure the build is approved, all the paperwork's done, everything's checked out, and we're ready to go live for next Tuesday. So unless something comes up between now and 4 p.m. Eastern, we should be set for next Tuesday for Update 37. Yes, Mariner class will be in Update 38. We're going to have a whole lot more about our expansion as we get closer to it. One of the things we're working to do is have a press preview of the Mariner. I think we should be able to make that a content creator preview as well. So that's in the works. It's not the immediate future. It's going to be down the road a little bit. But we are going to be doing that. Additionally, Scenario for his Casual Stroll live streams starting in September, we're going to try to do some previews of Umbar and related regions as well. So we have a lot more we're going to be saying about the expansion here in the next couple of months. But not a whole lot I can really tell you about it today. Yes, Mariner's in there and such, but a lot of it is being kind of held back. Well, not held back, but we're not announcing it because we still have to get Update 37 out first. But also we've got like some press previews and things like that in the works. Can I please address if only the keys from the store will be removed along with the boxes from Lelia's Market vendor being removed? Will we still be able to use keys and boxes we have? Yes. You will still be able to use whatever you have, but nothing is going to be spawning in game forthwith, or from this point on with Update 37's release. This only involves the super old loot boxes that have pretty much been long deprecated. I mean, they haven't really been a part of the game for about 5-6 years now, but they were tucked in a small corner of Lelia's Market, and the keys were in a non-searchable, well, they searchable only version in the store for people who really, 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 really wanted to get an old key for their old loot box, and that's going to be going away with Update 37 here. So, yes. We have an announcement on the forums and even the launcher about this as well. None of the modern loot boxes or keys, none of that's changing. This is only the super old ones. So, but anything you happen to have, theoretically you'll still be able to use. If you have a box, you're going to need to, hopefully you've got a key for it, otherwise just trash the box. And if you have a key but no box, then just trash the key. So, after Update 37 goes live. So very little is in the Lelia's Market, the old steel-bound loot boxes, that isn't available elsewhere. There's a couple of things that we identified over the past month or so and put them into future slots. So, for example, like the red painted steed is going to, I believe, show up in a future reward list for potentially something, at least initially, the LI reward track in the future. But all this stuff's going to get moved. Most of it, about 98% of it, already is available elsewhere. But what little is left is going to be distributed, provided as any value whatsoever, elsewhere in the game. And the only question is the pick amount box. You know, there's a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but there are some players who really like that pick amount box. But I don't know that we actually want to bring that pick amount box back as is, because most of it is already available elsewhere. So it's kind of competing against other things that you can already use to acquire these steeds, up to and including, in some cases, the store. And so some of the actual state of the pick amount box itself is somewhat unclear. I think there's a thought, well, maybe we should update it and bring it out as like a new pick amount box, and that's something that may or may not happen. But at the very least, all of the contents in the current one will be distributed elsewhere. So, I don't know about specifically bringing old LI reward track special, quote, special items to the Figments of Splendor vendors. They could go there. They could go elsewhere. Generally, we have spreadsheets of items that are not being used very much, and we have spreadsheets of items that, you know, we can bring back for other things in the future, and we mark kind of where they're currently, where we want them to be, and all that sort of thing. So, not everything that is in a reward track reward is absolutely going to go to a Figment of Splendor vendor, although that's a common place where we might put some of that sort of stuff after it's gotten out of the reward track and a little time has passed or something like that. But as a kind of a rote mechanism, it doesn't automatically go to the Figment of Splendor vendor. It could, but it could go somewhere else as well. Mike plays. My guess is that your splash screens are not being updated. I don't believe we still have a double bonus point splash screen currently in the install folder. I was looking at those just the other day, and I didn't see a double bonus points splash. So perhaps you've got some kind of widget in place or something that is bypassing the checking of the ENFRDE for the load screens on your launcher. I know a bunch of people use some kind of little workaround to do that. If that's you, that would explain why you're getting old splash screens on your launcher. But if we do have that specific one universally, I could take a look and we could swap it out next time we have a game update. Probably not for Tuesday, though, because people are busy and we're already pretty much set. Yes. So, an abortion, I don't know exactly when. Uh, Also, nice name. Should change your name. I don't know exactly when Sev's going to join us, but we've been talking, him and I, about like, yeah, I need to get you back on the live stream. He's like, yeah, what about let's do this in the coming weeks? It's been a couple weeks since, but we're planning to do it. It should be the very near future. We'll have Sev on to talk about the latest Lotro news and just do some general Q&A with you in the future. Probably not next week because I got a house party. Maybe the week after that. We'll see what happens there. So, all right. You feel that there is a champion in the champion community. There are multiple champions who feel their loot distribution has a, quote, bad feel. This is specifically in regards to outgoing healing gear dropping for us, which is not appropriate for champions. I mean, not every piece of gear that you ever acquire is meant to necessarily be useful to you, but that's some feedback, Hesco, that we can take a look at in the future. And if one of our loot folks has an opportunity perhaps to improve the champion loot, maybe we can do that. I have not heard of plans to bring enhancement runes to the Embers vendor. Sorry, Bloodborne. Perhaps that's some feedback. I could pass along your suggestion on that. Tall hair? Someone's asking about the tall hair crack I made. Someone has not seen the cinematic masterpiece called House Party, featuring the acting talents of one kid in one play. Arabani, yes. So we are working through a few Steam store related issues, and there were two changes, one 2 days ago and one yesterday. And so a lot of these Steam issues should be resolved. The work that was done on Wednesday was to address an issue where some people using the Steam client were unable to make a purchase, and some people outside the Steam client were unable to make a purchase because even though they were not using the Steam client, they were being asked to connect to Steam. That fix, though, is a two-parter because there was also work done on Thursday to further not display in another case where someone who had logged into a Steam client, then logged into a non-Steam client, was still getting sort of tagged with the Steam client flag for payment processing. And that went in, I believe, around 5:30 p.m. yesterday. I've not had a chance to follow up to make sure that all worked out and everything. But to your wider point, yes, we're aware of some Steam payment issues. Many of those should be resolved at this point. Some work is probably going to remain, plus it gets complicated, right? Because you never have one issue causing it. You've got like, 10 individual use cases, each with their own flavor that needs to be addressed. But we are working through it. So the best advice I have for you, and the most important advice I have, is we need to have a ticket number in with our system. So if you're having a purchase issue, don't just tell me about it on the forums or send me a private message. Please send in a ticket to the system. One of the things that got kind of complicated this week when we were working through individual use cases is, I was raising some of the forum reports that I saw on the forums, like, okay, well, we need their character server, ticket number, and account name. And that information shouldn't be provided to us publicly, but also has not been provided to us. So it's like, well, I got someone yelling on the forums. I'm not seeing a ticket in the system, and I don't know what their account name is. Um, so, because that's divorced from the forum software, we don't have immediate access to your game account name when looking at your forum profile. We can do that work, but we have to connect it. And so the easiest way to get that stuff done is to have you fill out a ticket. And any communication you have with us about any kind of store related purchase issue, whether it's a post on the forums or a private message to me, do include that ticket number with your post. It's the absolute best way to get this information to us. That way we can not only capture what you're telling us, but your game account name and your ticket number, and then we can respond to you, not through the forums or through something like that, but through the ticketing system where we can actually properly mark all the work that's being done. So I would say, Bloodborne, though, you might want to hang on to some of that ancient script, right? Because we do have an expansion coming out, and we have information we'll be talking about the expansion here in the future. But when there is, say, like a level cap increase and things like that, you might want some of that ancient script for new traceries to replace the things that you got. So maybe you want to hang on to some ancient script if you've already capped out everything that you're looking for today. Correct. Your Guardian Angel. Twitch is where I'm currently live streaming, and then the archives of these shows go up not just on Twitch, but also on YouTube. They will eventually go up on Facebook again as well, except that right now Facebook doesn't like it when I try to upload 60 frames per second video. And it just rejects it, and I still want to be 60 FPS on the live stream, so I don't know what's up there. But if it gets fixed, then I'll be uploading to Facebook again, too. I'm not sure, your Guardian Angel, about your character select screen issue. No idea what you're talking about there. When you sign out to go to a different tune, it goes to not available. I'm not sure. Just make sure you fully sign out. It's probably taking a snapshot of the character you're logging out of. Maybe there's some erroneous messaging there. Hesco, I haven't thought about PvMP stars in a long time. I have no idea whether we might ever use that kind of system again. Ryan has talked a lot about the PvMP work that we have been doing, are doing, and will be doing. I haven't heard anything about bringing back those old, that kind of predecessor to our current ranking system. Never say never on it, but I haven't heard of any plans to do it. All right. Characters can become unavailable if you lose character slots because of your VIP expiring. That is, well, you don't lose them, but you have to select which characters you wish to actively play. Monstrous Filth wants to know, you're all the way in Switzerland, but you do happen to be in the Boston area somewhat regularly. You want to know if you can drop by at headquarters and give us some surprise chocolate. We love the idea of that, but in practice, the answer is no. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, it is a security issue to have just kind of random people show up at our door. That's not really something that we support. We are, after all, a business. It's largely just not appropriate. But on top of that, we're all basically working from home these days. So while we do have a headquarters, it's not really something that we're all gathering in the office on a daily basis anymore. So you would probably show up to find a locked door and a bunch of lights out. Sorry. Is the sturdy steel key removal a prelude to a larger update? No. Specifically, this is really just circling back on work that should have been done 5, 6 years ago that we just never really got around to. In some ways, we had already deprecated these old loot boxes. We shoved them in the furthest corner of the world, and nobody was buying them. Nobody really cares that much about them. And we had a cat and mouse thing, well, chicken and egg thing, I guess, is more appropriate. Where, because some players still had them in their inventory, we kept it kind of unlisted but searchable in the store. And then because we had them in the store, we didn't want to completely get rid of it from the NPC. You want to do it at the same time, so that, as we're doing here with Update 37, so it causes the least amount of consternation. But, yeah. But no, I mean, we're always looking at ways to improve our loot boxes and make them give them as much value as we can. But I've not heard of a plan to, say, completely overhaul our loot box system or anything like that. This is really just circling back on work that should have been done quite some time ago. All right. Wow. I guess we're hitting me with a bunch of guys and gals are hitting me with a bunch of questions here. Let me though, quick swap over to the game. As long as I'm just kind of handling general chat, let's handle some general chat and catch some drunkards over in the Farmers Fair. Bull Roar will not be going up before Tuesday, so no. The Bull Roar preview cycle for Update 37 has ended. I don't know that we have really... I've not heard of plans specifically related to roving threats in the expansion. I can't speak as to whether we may or may not on that. I haven't heard of anything, but I'm not sure I would have heard of anything either. So... Well, we're not that far away from starting to do Update 38 previews either. It'll be a little while yet, but not that long. So... let me quick look at my kind of notes that I put together. A couple of quick notes here that we do have a 25% crafting XP boost. This runs this weekend through the 28th, being shut off at 3 a.m. Eastern on the 29th. We have got the Farmers Fair happening through September 6th. That shuts off at 3 a.m. Eastern on September 7th. Next weekend, we have a 10% Virtue XP boost as well. And so that is something to look forward to. What else do I have in my kind of show notes I wanted to mention? We do have the Farmers Fair guide up if you need a little bit of a heads up as to how to run the Farmers Fair. I would expect to see the determine your discount come back, but I can't speak as to what the timing of that might be. I wouldn't expect it to be quite so soon. Because we just did it a couple weeks ago. But I would expect to see it in the future for sure. We may make some changes to it. I don't know. I think there was a question about how much the 5 use thing was a user interface concern. Some players got kind of confused as to how it works because you have to kind of apply it per character. Um, but there are some other ways we can accomplish the same goal. So we'll kind of have to see what we want to do with determine your discount. But it did get its inaugural run just within the past couple of weeks. And I would expect to see it come back. We have other options too. There may be a time here, um, where we want to do something like buy one get one might be another option that we can do in the future. We'd have to potentially limit, kind of who did what, but or what all it applied to, maybe. But we've got some other options for coupons here that we can do in the future. I think the main thing is so it was 5 per account, but it's really 5 activations per account, and people often were like, "Well, I applied the coupon in using redeem code, so that counts as 1." But it's actually when you redeem the coupon code that it counts as 1. And there's because of the way the store is tied on a per character rather than account based opening system, we would run into there was some confusion where players would apply it on one character, log out of that character, log into another character, but still keep up their store interface, which really you shouldn't do because it causes problems. And then the coupon would, quote, disappear. What you actually needed to do is just reapply the coupon on the new character store session, essentially. And then you could reuse that coupon again. But except you're not even reusing it, you're just using it the first time. But it caused a little confusion. There's some forum chatter and customer service reach outs and things related to it, and people feeling like they weren't able to use the coupon that they, quote, applied. And so, because it was a little on the confusing side, maybe we wouldn't quite do it that exact way again. But that's how the functionality works, right? Each store session is tied to that specific character's session ID, right? So you can't keep the store open between character logins. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. So it causes problems. But because especially it uses an external browser, we can't force close a tab on your browser. So that is the goal Tegan plays, is to enable race changes so that players can swap into River Hobbits on Tuesday. If they want to. I'm not sure, Lariana, about we have a couple of cosmetic items like a long mining axe and candy staff that might need some adjustment to have wider cosmetic use. I haven't heard of anything about that. I'd have to dig into why it is the way it is, how it was set up, and why it was set up the way it was. Oh, nice. Someone had a question last week about connecting to mainland China, and is reporting that they presumably have been able to. That's great to hear. Uh, Good question. I don't believe that the amount of crafting supply is change. Like, so you're asking, will the number of yield you get per node change? I don't think so. I haven't heard of anything like that. But perhaps there's something in there I just didn't pay attention to. Whatever the crafting text that is written so far, that's really what we're talking about here. Anything else will be coming in the future. Clearly Orion's got some plans here for crafting. So.
Well, the gall of some folk.
Alright. Well, let's actually, you know what? Let's make some sweet cream maybe.
Good
Huh?
day. Might I have a word with you?
So yeah, like a pitchfork that maybe as a weapon slot you want to use it as a ranged weapon slot. I mean, that sounds cool.
Well,
I would need to know those specifically. It may be there's something about that item, especially if it's a old item, that perhaps it's the way it is for a reason. So, Wrath247, I am not able to give you a sneak peek on the Hobbit bundles prior to them going live. I'm sorry. I know that there's interest in me doing that, but that's not something I'm able to do. Next week. We'll see them soon enough. Can I play as a chicken trying to get to Minas Tirith? That sounds like a lot. I remember, didn't we do... gosh, was this a year or two ago now? I remember doing a chicken stream. And then we did the PVMP one, actually, not that long ago. But, yeah, April this year. I mean, I'm down. I'm down. That sounds like fun. Why not? Which one's... Here we go.
Hello there. Stay and have some tea. Good day. Might I have a word with you? Stay and have some tea.
Does that count? Yes. I mean, I think chicken runs are fun, so that sounds good to me. I'm down. I'm sure that we're doing a supporter pack in the future, but I don't have anything immediate to say about what it might be or what have you. You know, it's something that we'll continue to be doing, and we'll have more information about them really when they're ready. At the moment, though, we're really focusing on Lindleby housing and the upcoming River Hobbit bundles instead. And so we'll see. I'm sure we'll be doing a supporter pack in the future, and when its time is there, they will have more to say about it. How is my kitty doing? My kitty is doing all right. My kitty is getting to be somewhat elderly. She's at least 15 or so. And my kitty does have diabetes, which means I have to give her a couple of insulin injections every day, which is a thing that I've been doing for a while now. But she's a happy, generally healthy kitty for her age. So. It's true, it's been a little while, I think, since we had a new musical instrument. We had been doing those for a while, and then we kind of moved on to other things to focus on. But I'm sure we'll see more musical instruments in the future, too.
How do you do?
And yes, we do have an expansion. As someone just pointed out, we do have an expansion coming up as well, so. Can I raise your spirits a bit and confirm that we have great and exciting plans for Lotro in terms of new areas and system updates going forward after Umbar? Yes, I would be happy to do that. I don't know how heavy your spirit is. Hopefully this is enough to raise it. But, yes. Yeah, we got years and years of options ahead of us for things that we can/want to do. So we've got tons happening after Umbar as well. So, at this stage of the expansion work, I am not really in a good position to get into the details of what will be in the expansion, what it'll include, and what have you. In some cases, we're looking to get press previews and press exclusives and information like that for it. And so if I were to say something about the expansion on the live stream right now that was intended to be an exclusive for a press outlet or something like that, that could get me in a little bit of trouble, and really just kind of put the kibosh in some cases on the press article and such. So I don't really have a lot I can tell you today about the upcoming expansion, other than we have a lot that we're planning. But we also do have things that we're planning in the coming weeks, up to and including, like I said, casual stroll with scenario streams where we're going to be previewing off the worlds. We've got a Mariner preview happening, and we've got the Bull Roar preview cycle that is, in the early stages of being developed and set in stone and things. Have we ever considered eagle flying? At this point of the game's life, I think it's unlikely that you could say something that we haven't at least considered. Maybe you could. But for the most part, I have not. Like, I know that we've had conversations about if the eagles were to interact with you, the player, how would that be done appropriately and things like that. So it's not that we could never do it. We do have interactions with eagles, you know, in the game. But in terms of you, the player, flying on the back of an eagle, that is not something that we have really chosen to pursue at this point. I would love a glockenspiel, TD Growl. I'm a big fan of kind of percussive bell-like instruments, so I think that's a fantastic idea. I'm down.
Good day.
All right, what do I want to do next? Let's pelt some people, huh?
Might I speak with you a moment?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some real challenges. Oh, really? That's weird. Oops. Huh. Well, let me try that. One more time here.
Please, stay a moment.
Get out of the way of the bounders. See if I could find my usual spot. Do we have new carry-alls coming out soon? I have heard of a few more carry-alls that are being developed, but I don't know what the exact distribution timeline for them is. Can I beat Orion in PvMP? No. It is highly unlikely that I would even be competitive against the person who makes PvMP. River Hobbits will be coming out next week, Bill, and we'll have a whole lot more information, say, first half of next week, about River Hobbits and how you can get them. Yeah, I mean, I think a glockenspiel might not be quite the right instrument, but the idea of a percussive style bell instrument, you know, whether it be kind of xylophone, the tab type things, I can't think of the right names for them. The general idea of kind of a percussive hitting a tube to make a tone type sound would certainly be appropriate within Middle Earth. It would just have to be done appropriately with the right kind of instrument and look and sound and all the rest. So. I should pick up a few of these. Which one do I want to do?
Hi there. Give me a moment.
Could I take a moment of your time?
Can I do this? Oops. Yeah. Can't see very well, sadly. Can I remember how to do this from rote? Maybe. All right, Daddy Dalbeniv TV. Sorry, I don't know how to say that. Your name, sorry. You came back after a year and were surprised by the change in landscape difficulty. So it is an optional system. Ultimately, you don't have to take part in the landscape difficulty system if you don't want to. But I'm glad to hear that you found it a nice addition to your gameplay. There we are. Yeah, like an ocarina would be really nice as well. Although, you know, we already have like a flute and what have you. All right. What do I want to do before I... Have I done all the... I'm trying to think about what I want to... Which quests I want to run for these last two. Why don't we... Where do I want to go? How about... I think there's a couple more I could do here. Do I want to do one of these apple crate quests? No, I think those weren't working, right? And I don't want to do that yet. So how about I go over here? Well, that's something I could do then. A crash, like a symbol, huh? Psh. You mean like in the Muppet Show?
I take a moment of your time?
Stay and have some tea.
Stay and have some tea.
That's a weird place for a crashed kite. The idea of a new hobby system is something that comes up periodically. We've come close a few times to actually doing a thing, but we've not actually done the thing. So maybe at some point here we will. We'll see. The idea of a new hobby has been kicking around for, gosh, a decade? Maybe? Maybe not that long. A long time. There's been a couple of them over the years. We'll see, you know, what if anything happens there, but the idea of what we can do is plentiful. Actually doing it, we have not to date really made that happen, but why not allow players to skip the tutorial and allow them to play the harder landscape difficulties from level 1? I think it would require a little more understanding of why that was important specifically. That, because the level 1 to 5 tutorial is a very short section of gameplay. That's pretty important, though, to players who are less experienced with the game. So, would you want to throw the landscape difficulty system at a new player at level 1 versus, say, level 5? I'm not sure. But I suppose maybe I'm just not thinking of a good use case as to, you know, why starting at level 1 rather than immediately after the tutorial is the way to go there. Generally, the question of will we ever get to X is probably. We have no shortage of places that we can go and explore and build out in Middle-earth. And I would expect really any region of the game has likely some level of a documentation somewhere of what we could do, how we could do it, and the like. I don't think there's very much out there that hasn't at least been considered as to what we would do if we were to do it. It does, of course, have to be in the original source material. So things that are just from the appendices and stuff are typically not places that we can go. But, you know, a lot of times it doesn't take much either. Like, if there's just a reference, there are things we can do there. So, we'll see. But Well, I want to say this worked out pretty well. We got 5 minutes yet.
Hello there.
But I just finished up my...
Good day. Might I have a word with you?
For next time. Which one's Leela? Where's Leela? There we go.
A lovely day, isn't it?
Sweet.
Good day.
A lovely day, isn't it?
Hobbit Dance 4 emote. Fountain emote. Kites. I don't know, I'm gonna have to think about what I want to do for rewards here. Do I play on ultra settings? I do. I do, in fact. I think that's what I'm set at. It's set at custom at the moment, but it's essentially ultra. My PC hardware is okay. I've had this computer for, I guess, about 3-4 years now. It's got a 3060 graphics card in it. It's an i7 processor, 32 gigs of RAM, and otherwise, I am actually running this at the moment on an old mechanical drive, which is a bummer because I really need to get it onto an SSD. But my SSD, the computer's just old enough I don't have a really nice like terabyte SSD in here yet. So that's something I might need to do in the future. I have like a 300 gigabyte SSD, but that's being used for the operating system and like some kind of video editing programs and things like that I'm using. So at the moment I've got the game client on a regular mechanical drive, and that means long load screens that get solved very quickly with an SSD. So I'm not 100% maxed out as to what it should be. I really should have this game on an SSD. But otherwise my computer's pretty decent for 2023. Why not a skip option for the whole tutorial? We do offer that. That is an item that you can find in the Lotro store to skip the tutorial. And so that is an option for you if you're interested. Nomad2409. You are having a problem seeing the Lotro Facebook page anymore from your profile page. Have you been blocked? Probably not. I haven't blocked anyone on Facebook outside of a couple of obvious spammers in quite some time, year or two. But so what I would suggest is get in touch with me through the forums or maybe Twitter on Lotro, and get me your actual Facebook name, like a link to your profile, and I can go through our ban list and make sure that you're not banned, or if you are properly banned, at least I would know why. But it's probably not the case that you've been removed from our Facebook page. So just send me a link with your Facebook profile and I can look into it. Alright, well, I think that's going to wrap it up with the show then this week. Thank you so much for being here. Quick reminder that we have got a Crafting XP boost through the weekend and the Farmers Fair available as well. Update 37 hitting next week with Lindleby Housing, River Hobbits, Beorning and Guardian updates, and a whole lot more. And we got some pretty exciting streams that we're going to be doing here in the very near future, including next Friday. Assuming everything goes well next week, I'll be doing a house party next Friday right here, noon Eastern, twitch.tv/LotraStream. Hope you have a great weekend, everyone. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.